Welcome back to Supporting Physician Spouses. I'm Kendra.
And I'm Katie. Welcome to this fun episode. Kendra and I are so excited to be together and have been brainstorming some behind the scenes of how to get logistics to work for an invitation that will come at the end of the episode. But we still wanted to get together and record something that would be meaningful to our community here.
Yeah, and if you've been listening for a while, you know that this podcast is about real conversations, the kind that you might have with a friend who really gets this medical life. And so today this conversation is one that I think all of us need to have sometimes.
We're going to talk about hard things and how we can think about our thoughts about those hard things that we're going through and how we can navigate them and how we can lean into acknowledging the hard in our lives.
Yeah, I think that part is so important. I think sometimes we get the idea that if life is hard, we must be doing something wrong, that something must be off, the universe is out to get us, or that this isn't a normal and natural occurrence. But if you haven't already heard, life is hard.
Yeah. So before we get into this today, let's do our check-in, Kendra.
Yeah.
How are you? What's on your mind today? What are you preparing for, looking forward to?
Doing good. It's the beginning of a new week. I always love Mondays. And as I look ahead to what's going on, we've got a holiday weekend coming up. I know some school districts celebrate like with the fall break around this time where they take an entire week off. Our school doesn't get an entire week off. We do get Friday and Monday off though. So my family and I are going to accompany my husband to a work conference that he has in Los Angeles. And so the kids and I will go to Disneyland while he is spending part of his time at a meeting. And I think this is technically going to be the first meeting that we've ever gone as a family with him to. I've gone with him to meetings, but this is the first time that our children will be tagging along while he is doing something else. To my knowledge, my husband, if he listens, he might correct me and say, remember that one time. But this is just to say that this is not a regular occurrence at all. And sadly, yesterday I was talking to my daughter who's at college, and we were debating whether or not to tell her that we were going, because she's pretty sad that she's going to miss it. And for a split second, we looked at, what would it take to fly her out? And it's like, this is just getting crazy. We can't do this. We can't set that precedent that every time our family goes on vacation, we have to accommodate everybody. And I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about that, but she's only been at college for a month, I think.
That's what's hard about it.
She's good. Yeah.
Honestly, it's the first semester that's like, it can be a little bit of a doozy. And I feel you there.
To kind of make up for it, she's feeling pretty bad about not being able to come. I am going to surprise her for her birthday, and I'm going to fly out in November and see her. So she doesn't listen to this podcast. I'm safe.
I was going to say.
No, I'm pretty sure my college daughter is not listening to my podcast. But
cute.
How about you, Katie? What's been happening in your world?
I kind of feel like I'm just hanging in there. This topic is very much for me lately. My spouse is still on his away rotation, and I can feel my mental capacity getting weaker and weaker as the weeks go on, because the little voice in my head that's like, that's not true though, Katie, when I'm like, I don't think this is ever going to get better. Like my catastrophizing, that little voice, I have my second voice that just stomps in. It's like, you're not right. I am so tired of this, So
Not
I just
warring.
feel weary and lots of warring going on. There's like the little good angel on my shoulder that's like, you got this, you're doing great. And then, it just seems like maybe the little devil on the other shoulder is winning out.
Yeah.
But I can kind of have high expectations for how I want things to go. And I think maybe many of us feel this pressure in our parenting to do everything. And this weekend, I just was like, if we're all happy, then maybe that's my expectation this weekend. And so we actually just enjoyed ourselves, and I didn't worry about the details as much as I typically do. So happy to be starting a new week, and we're getting that much closer to when Dad is home again.
That'll be a good day.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I can't wait for you guys to get back together. As we were
thank you.
talking, I thought of something that I think applies to this conversation and this topic that we're having, and maybe other parents of small children this past weekend can relate to this, but our church had general conference. And so we were watching a lot of church on TV in a sense. And I made another rookie mistake and I put out a bunch of junk food. And this morning, when it was time to go to school, I had two daughters that had stomach aches.
Oh, no.
Sometimes we choose hard, and sometimes hard is just part of life. I
Mm,
didn't think about the consequences of what I was doing until the consequences appeared, and I'm like, I did that to myself. And so
mm,
sometimes there's hard that we bring on ourselves and we have to pay the consequences for it. And other times
yeah.
life is just hard. It's not because you did anything, it's just the way that it is. And so when I can
Mhm.
remind myself when sometimes hard is presented to me, like two kids this morning who were complaining about going to school because they had stomach aches, but I knew they were going to be just fine. They just ate too much candy yesterday. That, ooh, I chose that. But it's a nice reminder to be like, okay, don't choose that again. But
Yeah.
there's other things that are just hard, and I think we can both agree, and probably I think our listeners would probably agree that sometimes the medical life is just hard by nature. It's not that you
Yeah.
did anything wrong. It's that it
Mhm.
just is hard, and it can be hard and also can be great at the same time. So how do you reconcile those two things, Katie, where it's hard, but it's also like this great gift and this great blessing?
Mm. Yeah, I think letting that dichotomy sit within my soul more helps with that. I also think that the more experience that I have on the medical journey, I realize that sometimes the hard feels really hard and it feels like I can't do it. And then other times when hard things happen, I'm like, "Oh, I totally got this." I accept that I can also be good and bad at the medical journey. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Not morally good or bad, but skilled or unskilled. It's kind of like having a bad day at soccer practice. You win some, you lose some. And so I think having more data so that I can trust that sometimes days don't work out for some reason and that just happens. And then you just kind of put it behind you and get up and do the next day. But I think it's when you start to compound and you feel like you're just getting hit by tidal wave after tidal wave. And it's like something's not working, something's got to give. And I'm totally drowning.
Yeah.
That's where it gets really tough and really challenging.
Here's what I've noticed, at least in my life, when I don't let myself admit that something is hard, and I think what
Hmm.
you were pointing to is kind of this dichotomy, either it's hard or it's not, but they can't be both.
Yeah.
But being able to settle in and realize that it can be both and that I can feel both of these things and it's just a day, it's not a forever thing.
Hmm.
But when I don't admit
Yeah.
that something is hard, it usually call it showing up sideways. I get disconnected. I also get resentful
Hmm.
because it feels like something is happening to me that I didn't deserve. It's like,
Yeah.
again, going
Yeah.
back to cause and effect, like there must have been something that happened that is bringing this on. And so my natural tendency, if I just can't admit that it's okay that it's hard and it isn't a reflection on me, it isn't a reflection on my spouse, it is just the way that it is right now, just the process of accepting it makes things so much better. But when I fight against it, that's when
Hmm.
trouble shows up for me.
Yeah. And I just want to share that sometimes I have a hard time accepting it because I think solo parenting can be really hard for me. And so I resent things. I'm like, this wouldn't have happened if I wasn't alone. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
felt so maxed out if I wasn't alone. And that's where I get the maddest, you know? And so I try to point that resentment at residency. But even then, like, it's not helping. That's not a mindset that's helping me grow. And I recognize that, you know, this journey has been kind of proving ground for me
Yeah.
to become something new, to get the skills of solo parenting, to take ownership that, at the end of the day, I'm in charge of my own reactions, whether someone's there to offload me or not. Literally, as I'm saying it, I'm like, oh, this feels really heavy to accept and take in.
Yeah, I think that's the natural resistance. Like somehow, if we were accepting it, then we'll get more of it.
Mm,
When
yeah.
really what we want is less of it. But I love what you said. Um, I think you said, if he were here, this wouldn't be as hard. But can we know for sure that that would be true?
Well, in this instance, if there was another parent at home, I would have been able to go blow off some steam and go on a walk, you know. Or someone just like, "Hey, I can tell that you could go use a break. I'm going to tap you out. Go take your shower." And then it's all chill.
So
So yes, I feel like yes, that is for sure.
this might not be the appropriate use of the word, but that sounds almost like a fantasy. Like, this is what we do when things are really hard. We create an alternate reality in
Mm,
which everything works out perfectly. When, of course, our spouse is there. And of course, I would be able to have all of the things that I need. So just be aware that that is what a lot of us do is we create the alternate reality that we wish existed, but there's no guarantee that that is what actually would have happened if he were home. Because
sure.
it's life. Life throws up all sorts of things, and you never know what it's going to be.
Mm.
All right, let's talk for a
But
minute about. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, but what if you have lots of data gathered that 99.9% sure that would have been the case? I want to hold true in my fantasy.
We can never be 100% certain. Yeah. But how does that feel then to know on that one day? Does it make it better acknowledging that, or does it make it worse?
Oh, so worse.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
it makes me
maybe
feel
that's the
weak and
point.
it makes me feel like this dependence on someone else. And that means that I have some growth to be had.
Yeah. I love how self-aware you are, Katie, because I think that's exactly right. Once we've done that, we've kind of given away our power over the situation because we said it's not me. It's not something that I can control. It's not something that I can do anything about. We shift it to somebody else and make it their responsibility. Like, if that
Mm,
person were here, if that person said this, if somebody had called, if somebody had stopped by. So that's the fantasy I'm suggesting is
yeah,
that
yeah.
the fantasy is that you are completely out of control and don't have anything to do to change that situation in that moment. And that's the part that feels terrible. I think in some
Yes.
respects, that's how we almost compound our suffering in the moment instead of just acknowledging that this is hard and now what am I going to do next?
Mhm. Mhm.
So, what does accepting the hard look like for you?
Saying it out loud, especially with the people I'm with, which my lovely children. Those amazing and I'm so sorry, kiddos. I mean, that's all I want from them too. When they're having a hard time, I'm like, let's not name call. Let's not, destroy your siblings' Lego creations. Just say how
Yeah.
you're feeling. This is stressful that this, timer is almost done. Just saying it out loud. Yeah. Call it out for what it is. And then all of a sudden, that's where the connection happens with ourselves, within ourselves, and also with other people around us.
Yeah, normalizing. This is hard and it's okay for it to be hard. And some days it's going to be hard. It's going to be harder
Mm,
than others some days.
yeah.
Well, kind of go back to my children and all the candy they ate yesterday. It was kind of the conversation I had with my daughter this morning. It's like, okay, well, yesterday you ate all of that stuff and you don't feel good right now, but you can still go to school and you'll still be okay. Might not be fun. It might not be as great as laying in bed all curled up, but you're going to feel better. It's going to get better
Mm,
because you're not going to eat any candy today.
yeah.
You're going to put that's the first thing we did. It's like, okay, well, I think you need to have a real breakfast. Like, let's put some real food into your body, nothing that's sweet, nothing that's overly rich. Have a piece of
Mhm.
toast, have some banana, and then let's move on.
Yeah, that's good. So, we're here to just acknowledge that yes, the journey can be hard, but let's recap. What are the steps that we can be practicing this week and moving forward, Kendra? Honestly, this is for
Sure,
me
I
to
think
remember.
okay, well, off the top of my head, I think we talked about these things, but really is just first acknowledging that something is hard, that it's
Yeah.
okay. Like admitting that something hard isn't the same as being like, I love it. You
Yeah.
don't have to love it to acknowledge that something is hard.
Yeah.
Um, and then I would say the other thing to do is to recognize the both and that something can be
Mhm.
hard and also good for us, good for our growth, good for stretching, good for learning, all of those things. Like there is some good in that. Everything's not just hard or easy. You can love your spouse and still feel lonely. You can be proud of their work that they do and still wish that they were at home.
Yeah. I saw a reel yesterday of someone practicing standing on a nail board. I'm guessing like acupressure point health benefits.
Yeah.
But for her, it was like this multi-year long process where she could stand on them without like cringing in pain. And so as you're saying that, that's the visual in my head where getting comfortable with discomfort. I think we live in a world where we can make anything comfortable or numbing at least. I think this medical journey can really prod us in
Mhm.
uncomfortable ways where, it's easy to be like, if I only lived near family, if I only had my friends, if I only had, everything that I have leaned on at some point in my life, most of the times we're taken away from a lot of those crutches, those things that we can lean on easily. So, with that, remembering what can we bring into our scenarios that can be like the chairs to offload some of that weight. Like we need to create those in our current circumstances and not just wish for being able to escape to
Yeah.
things that might not exist in my
So,
life right now.
no, I think that's really good and kind of goes along with, acknowledging the hard. We also need to acknowledge the story that we're telling about this healing fantasy, about how this would be different if something else were different.
Mhm.
So, we like black and white thinking. It feels really comfortable to know that something is this or something is that. And what you're describing is there's a whole bunch of gray area that feels really uncomfortable because it's just uncertain, it's unpredictable, it's not black and white, it's two things at once. And how do we hold two things at once? And so, to get really good at doing that, I think you really do have to talk about it and be able to vocalize it, whether it's through journaling or writing. Sometimes just voicing it or writing it down lifts the weight.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of the acknowledgement, is to acknowledge, is like bringing it out into the world so it's not in the dark. It's like,
Hmm.
yes, this is hard. And I'm not going to try to gaslight myself into saying that it's not,
That's a
or
blessing.
yes, I'm not going to go there, which we're going to have an episode that talks specifically about how we gaslight ourselves in the future. But we don't want to do that. We just want to acknowledge what is real, and then also acknowledge that there is a version of us that has this fantasy where things are all different, where the world is all perfect in this scenario, where my husband's still able to pursue his dream, and I have all of the support that I want, and all of the people I need show up for me, and I'm with all my friends, and I'm with my family, and all of the elaborate fantasies that we tell ourselves about what would make this less hard. And then at the same time, to notice that there are pieces of that that we can control, that it isn't necessarily a fantasy, but maybe it is an invitation to take action. So I'm going to give you one more example because I think it fits in beautifully here. I remember being in residency and being very alone. Yes, I had people that were near me, but I still felt lonely and trying to come to terms with that. And I remember praying, it's like, please send somebody. Those just heartfelt pleas where you're just like, I need help. Please send somebody. And we've all heard the stories of all of the miracles. And so that's really what I was praying for, is please. And for the longest time, I was a little irritated that my that prayer was not answered. Whatever I was looking for just didn't show up. And I'm embarrassed to say how long before I realized I had just been praying for the wrong thing. I had been praying for God to use somebody else's agency to help me instead of helping me to use my agency to help me.
Yeah.
Because I had people, and guess what? I just had to have the strength and the courage to call or to acknowledge it was hard to somebody else, to actually share something. And what I was asking for him to do is to please shortcut that. Please make it
Mm.
so I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Just fix it. Just
Yeah.
send somebody, fix the problem, instead of praying for the courage and the strength to do what I needed to do. Because as I've gone through my life and I've uttered many prayers, the ones that usually get answered are the ones where I'm asking to be empowered to use the agency that I possess to solve my problem.
Mhm.
instead of asking for the problem to be removed or asking for him to intervene in somebody else's agency on my behalf.
Mm.
When I can keep it focused on help me to use my agency, help me, give me strength, give me courage, give me wisdom, give me something that I can then use, those prayers are answered much faster
Mm.
than sitting and being aware that something is hard, but unwilling to be a participant in it,
Yeah.
to correct it or to fix it or to do something that would make it a little bit easier.
Mm.
To
So many.
outline all of these. I don't know where we are on the steps, but really, we've got to acknowledge it. We have to use the agency that we have. We have to be comfortable with the but and, like two things can exist at the same time.
Can we use the
Yes.
fantasies to help ourselves find solutions? So, would it be helpful? Write down the fantasy you're telling yourself in your head of what would be helpful. So it's like, okay, if only I lived near family. You don't have family, but who else could be your support? So use your fantasies to help you through the hard.
Absolutely.
Love that.
Yeah, it helps you identify. You're always going to know what it is that you need. And the healing fantasy really is a product of if all of these conditions existed just the way that I described them, then the world would be okay. And I could do this really hard thing. And so using it, like you said, as feedback to be like, okay, this is obviously what my soul is telling me that I need because it's created this fantasy where all of these things are in place and they all line up. So then how can I go about getting those?
Yeah.
Moving's probably not an option for you. If you're in residency, you're kind of there. So what can you do to create that sense of family? What can you do to create that sense of friendship? Do you have somebody that you can talk to? Do you have somebody you can confide in? Are you participating in that or are you waiting for somebody to do it all for you? So I think that's a brilliant idea. Way to go.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, use that healing fantasy as a roadmap. Like, then what do I need to do? How can I take steps to create what it is that I need?
Yeah. Another fantasy that I've been whipping up in my head is I could do this if I were alone. I would know well how to navigate this hard situation if I wasn't also navigating the household, parenting my kids, their needs. Like that all felt really a lot. But I'm like, if I could just do this by myself, I would totally know how to take care of myself. But now that we're having this conversation, I could have cued in and said, I obviously need to take care of my own needs. How can I hire a sitter or someone to watch my kids so that I can recenter myself and then continue
Yeah.
forward?
So for our listeners, tell me how that feels.
Very empowering. Like my brain knew the answers.
Yeah. So acknowledging it, this is why taking action towards something always is going to feel better than not doing anything at all
Yeah.
because of that empowering ability. When you decide what it is that it's going, like, this is what I need to do, and you start taking action toward that, even imperfect action, or maybe it doesn't even work out the way that you thought it was, but at least it's action, it feels so much better than sitting and just focusing on the hardness of it, of
Hmm.
the almost like the victimhood of it. Like, this is too
Yes.
difficult. This shouldn't be happening to me. I feel completely trapped by this situation. I feel like I'm suffocating and it's all medicine's fault. If only we didn't do medicine. Again, that's part of the fantasy too. Life is hard. If it wasn't this, it would be something else.
Feel like you're mic'd
It's
into
all
my
hard.
my house. I'm like, do you know my
Oh,
internal thoughts, Kendra? Those are all exact phrases I have said.
I do because your thoughts are really not as unique as you think they
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
We all have them. All of us.
So good.
Yes.
Kendra, I love this framework. I love the tips that you've provided. I already feel encouraged in my own life to work through my heart a little bit better and with more action, like we've been talking about. So, as we close, we actually have a fun invitation for you listeners. So, listen up.
Yeah, surprise. Katie and I have been talking for a while about how much we love having these conversations. And we realize even though you're listening, you're not in on it with us. But we've been trying to figure out how we can invite you to participate with us. And so we've come up with something that we're going to give a shot.
Yeah, we are going to start doing a monthly office hour, a 1 hour, completely free moment to circle up via video conferencing and talk about are hard. You guys bring your questions, and then Kendra and I and whoever's on the call, we can all kind of chime in to help one another as we navigate our pain points on this medical journey.
I think this is going to be a really great opportunity, not only for us to get to know each other a little bit better, but really one of the things that is so beneficial, and we talked about it and touched on it in this podcast, is being able to give voice to something. And so I know, Katie, you're going through something hard. I'm going through something hard. Each of our listeners is probably going through something hard, and maybe they just need a safe space to say so. And so that's really what we are creating is this safe space. All of us will be women married to physicians going through similar things. And so we want you to just bring whatever is on your mind, bring whatever is on your heart, and then let's just get together and we can talk about it. Because sometimes, again, just giving voice to something that's going on is part of acknowledging what's hard so you can move on to the next part, which is taking action. So, how
Yeah.
do people get involved, Katie?
Yes. Go to supportingphysicianspouses.com. You will have access to join our wait list for these office hours. So as you sign up, you will get an email that one tells you that you're on the list. As we get closer and as details of when our next office hours will be, you will get information, and all you will need in order to join that call will be in the email.
Yeah, so the fun thing about this is that Katie and I are going to choose dates and times throughout the year that we meet, and we're not going to publish them in advance because we know what life is like. And so we will schedule those. Hopefully, you'll be able to attend one of them at some point in this year. Attend one, attend all of them. If they get too big, we'll do multiples, but we'd really like to just make it easy for you to join with us and to continue the conversations that we start on the podcast and to ask and answer questions.
Yes. Another benefit of joining this wait list is that you will have access to more content of behind the mic. Kendra and I will share specifics of our preparations for these interviews, our thoughts behind things, and even some of the things that we are diving into that aren't podcast related. Is it a favorite book? Is it other podcasts that we're enjoying? Or something else that is helping us navigate this life well?
So we hope that you'll join us. Go to supportingphysicianspouses.com. You just sign up quickly with your name and your email address, and then you will get notifications when those dates are announced. And again, we would love to see you there. We would love to have you part of this Supporting Physician Spouses community and family.
And if you have any questions about this process, you can email us at hello@supportingphysicianspouses.com or DM us on Instagram at supportingphysicianspouses.
Right. I think that covers it for today. We talked about some hard things. We talked about a solution. So when we talk about action, feeling really good, that's one action that you can take today is to go to the website, get on our waiting list, and then join us for our upcoming office hour. Okay.
Perfect. Have a great week.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.